Hello, 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 and welcome back to the topic where we highlight Houston Community College, our students, our program, and our reach into the community. I'm Dr. Darren Lamar Baskin, and I am here to get the hosting started. When we think about people involved in college, our minds naturally go to students and faculty, but no college can succeed without its staff members. Today on the topic, we're exploring a new initiative that will provide a venue for staff to have a voice in the direction of Houston Community College, the Staff Senate. Joining us for this discussion are Drs. Kurt Ewen, who is our Chief Transformation Officer, as well as Mr. Aaron Henry, who is the Coordinator of Student Life, Dr. Ivory Jones, who is a Coordinator for the Title IX Case Management. And I would just personally like to say thank you to all of you for joining us today. Hello. Good deal. And before I jump into my first question, let me first say to everyone, happy Pride Month and happy Juneteenth as well, because that is also happening during this special occasion. So let's jump right into it. Let's get on this topic. So Aaron, how are you?
I'm great, Dr. Baskin. Thank you for having us on today.
Amazing. So tell me this, what is the Staff Senate?
Well, the Staff Senate here at Houston Community College is going to be an assembly of all of the staff, both full-time and part-time, assembled in an association known as the Houston Community College System Staff Senate, where we will gather together to be able to hear the voice of our staff throughout the system, to be able to have one united effort in providing support to the college's strategic focus and direction, and of course our mission, which is educating our students. And so we will be united across the district in our approach in providing support to the chancellor and the system in this shared governance and collaborative governance approach that Dr. Ewen and the chancellor has charged us with at the college.
Oh, amazing. That it sounds like great work, great, amazing work, because I'm really happy that you said student success, because the mission of our college is student success. And we still would not even be a college without our staff members and the voices that they have as well. And so Dr. Ivory Jones, I'm going to toss it over to you. Being involved in the Staff Senate from the beginning, how does that make you feel?
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to get in and understand what the challenges are for the staff members. And I think the design team has done a wonderful job of putting out that and having a robust conversation about what is needed to address those issues at the staff level. And so for me, it's been a very eye-opening experience, things that I never would have considered before. And so I'm very happy that we've taken this direction and moving towards getting a staff senate implemented.
Very good. Amazing. Getting started in work from the beginning is always a great place to be, because you're able to drive the conversations and bring the work together. So when we look at staff senates at other colleges, what are some of the benefits those colleges have seen, Aaron?
So one of the things that I think it's going to be apparent for us is that it's going to create the opportunity of inclusivity, right? Individuals will be allowed to have the opportunity to share their voices. And people that I believe, not just at an institution of higher ed, but when individuals are given the opportunity to share their voice, they feel that they're included. And you get a lot of buy-in and a lot of hands-on support when folks believe that they are a part of the conversation. And I think that has been Dr. Ewen's and the chancellor's charge, particularly over the last year. I can say through strategic assembly meetings, the chancellor has been very clear about wanting to be a part of the discussions with staff members, not just at the cabinet level of his direct reports, but even beyond that. And so I think this is an opportunity that will allow that to happen. And so some tangible benefits will include staff being able to voice their concerns about different initiatives that are taking place. They'll be able to walk hand in hand with the administration and many of the college leaders across the district and be able to have direct input. And I think a lot of the byproduct will be, as you mentioned earlier, increased student success. And our motto, as we always talk about, is creating an ultimate student experience. And so I think eventually, as the culture changes, the institution or continues to change, because it has definitely changed over the last couple of years, years, I think it will be best for our staff level as well.
Yeah, and I think you've just really surmised exactly the direction that the college is taking as an institution, not just with the staff senate, but as an institution, the direction that we're moving into, the idea of inclusivity and a culture of care. I will say, just add a small piece to what you said. You said that they have a voice, and I will say that they have a voice from the beginning of the conversation, because having a voice from the beginning of the conversation is just as essential as having a voice throughout the conversation. So you need to be there when the voice is needed and started. So,
if I may add, you're right, and I think the portion of it, and Dr. Ewen can talk a little bit more about that. But the collaborative governance approach across the district, the effort that is going to be made, is bigger than just one area of the institution. And so this staff senate is a piece that will be partners with the faculty senate and with the United Student Council and with the other areas of governance that Dr. Ewen can talk about. But I think that creates that inclusivity that we're talking about, that we're all at the table from the beginning.
Yeah, and you did a great segue. You're tagging on to my job already there, Mr. Henry.
I'm sorry.
So I'm gonna toss this question to you, Dr. Ewen. How does the idea of the staff senate fit into the larger picture of HCC's transformation process?
All right. Well, thank you, Darren. I appreciate being here. I appreciate the time, and please call me Kurt. If you look at our most recent strategic plan, it's called Embracing Houston's Future. That is intentionally done as a way of helping us requiring us as an institution to focus on ourselves only to the extent to which it will make us better prepared to reach our needs of our community. In the fall of 21, we established a shared governance task force to look at the state of shared governance at HCC. And that was comprised of a very diverse group of folks, both faculty and staff. And it did not take us long to discover very clearly that there were people who were in our conversation then that otherwise had no voice, and that was staff members. So ultimately, Embracing Houston's Future is about internal culture change.
Oh, wow. And Kurt, I'm going to stop you right there for just 1 second.
Right.
Kurt, I'm going to stop you right there because we're going to take a break, and I'm going to let you continue when we come back, because just bringing up the idea of a culture shift within an organization is a very big conversation. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And when we come back, we'll have more about the HCC Staff Senate Initiative. Be right back.
Sometimes what you need just shows up. Houston Community College has your back, whether you're knocking out some basics or upping your game for a better job. Enroll today for spring classes and frame your future with HCC.
For more than a year, we have kept you informed with more than 500 remote episodes. But now we're back, bigger and better, with more news and more guests. Join us live every weekday at 10 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube, and on HCC TV at noon and 5 p.m. You can watch from anywhere. We go where you go.
Welcome back. And we are still continuing our conversation with our guests from HCC's new initiative for the Staff Senate. When we left off, we were talking to Kurt, and he was telling us about the transformational process that is going to happen within the organization, as with part of the Staff Senate being in that transformation. So, Kurt, when we left off, we were talking about the cultural change that needs to happen. And so can you please continue with your conversation about that?
Yes. So I think the cultural change has been going on for 9+ years, right? Transformation, which is now kind of a bugaboo word here at ACC. It's not the kind of thing we like to talk about, but it's very important. Culture takes a long time to change. And we have come to the point now where we need to add to the conversation. Culture takes a long time to change, but there is a methodology to it that I try and follow. It follows 3 steps. You change the conversation, you change who's in the conversation, and then you change everything else. Transformation was about changing the conversation. It was about moving us from 6 diverse colleges to now 1 college. We've expanded now who's in the conversation, and that includes staff. It needs to include staff. And then we can change everything else. So that's really what we're trying to accomplish here.
Kurt, that's a great way to break it down, because even with some of our viewers that might not understand the happenings behind the scene, or like they say, how the sausage is made, I think breaking it down along those lines will give everybody a really good understanding of how the process works and how long it actually takes. Because like you mentioned, a cultural shift within an organization, especially the size of Houston Community College, it's going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight. The culture didn't develop overnight, so it's not going to change overnight or over days, months, or years. So I thank you for sharing.
Continue with this. I get questions now about, should we continue on with this move, given the fact that Chancellor is moving on? It's like, no, this is now the time. And so we need to keep moving. We need to keep it going. There's no one who's going to come in and say, I am not in favor of collaborative governance.
Yeah, that's true.
Come in and say, staff shouldn't have a voice. What we have to do is continue the work, continue opening up the conversation, inviting more people in so that we can be a better place.
Yeah, I agree, and I love that because Houston Community College should be a place where every voice is heard and everyone feels the connection within the organization, faculty, staff, and students. So thank you. So as we move into, let's get into a little bit of what the Staff Senate might look like. So Dr. Jones, tell us, what would a Staff Senate look like? What would they look like? What would be comprised of it? How are you guys as the design team putting it together to be so inclusive of the organization?
Great question. So currently we have it set up where we have decided on having president-elect, immediate past president, secretary, treasurer. We're still working on how to get at those staff senators, the historian, archivist, a sergeant at arms, and a parliamentarian. And so we're in a healthy debate on deciding what should the senators look like? How we can be representative, not only at the district, but across the colleges. And so that's one of the things we all always say that, if you have an idea, bring it to us. We'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to hear from our staff members. And that's part of the reason why we always encourage for you to get with us. Let us know what you desire and what that would look like going forward.
And I think that's the best approach. To be all inclusive, to ensure that everybody is represented and you have a strong leadership team in place to ensure that the voice of the Staff Senate is being heard and the voices from within the staff are being brought up to the leadership of the Staff Senate. So I think that's a great approach that you guys are taking. So Aaron, let me ask you, what committees will make up the Senate and what kinds of issues will you guys be exploring?
Okay. So there are several committees that have been proposed, and we talked about them with the staff at the staff town hall this past Friday. And some of those committees include finance, I think, and fundraising, working with the finance and administration area of the institution. And that committee will work alongside with, I think, the communications committee. We have a policies and procedures committee that has been proposed, a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee that has been proposed, a graduation committee that has been proposed. And so we're mirroring a lot of the faculty senate. And I believe while the issues and the concerns of the staff senate, may be a little different or in many ways different from our faculty, we still do a lot of the same work, right? And so a lot of those committee work that the faculty senate are engaged in, the staff will be actively participating in. Staff play a huge part in the commencement ceremonies, as you know, and I know with the institution, as well as working with areas in finance and administration. And a lot of our staff work hand in hand, day in, day out, procurement, contracts, working with the general counsel's office. And so those are some of the standing committees that the Senate will have. And then there'll be ad hoc committees that the Senate may designate at different times, depending on certain issues and concerns or areas of growth that the Senate may deem as necessary. One of the things that I wanted to share, piggybacking off of Dr. Jones earlier, is that our goal is to create the opportunity for all staff across the district to be able to have a voice and their voice to be heard up to in this Senate. And so that representation that you talk about is so important. And it's, as she mentioned, we're having healthy discussion around it because we want to make sure that what those senators look like and that delegation, as Dr. Edwards like to say, across the district is really robust. And so we want to make sure that we're getting the voices at Northwest College. We want to make sure we're getting the voices at the police department. We want to make sure we're getting Coleman, and we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity or the avenue to be able to make sure that their voices are heard. And so we're still in those phases to make sure that their voices are heard. But I want staff and the institution to know that the spirit behind the conversation is ensuring that all of our staff members, part-time and full-time, have a voice and it is actually heard. As Dr. Ewen said, the right folks are at the table. Additional folks, rather, are at the table.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I mean, I think you guys are hitting it right on the head. I believe that what you're saying is going to impact the institution in a way that has never been impacted before. And the idea of including staff that aren't those student-facing staff that we never really see or never really interact with into the staff senate, I think is imperative and just a great way to ensure that every voice is heard, from the part-time employee to the full-time employee at the highest levels of the institution. So the conversations we're having, they're really going well. I appreciate you guys. Again, the Staff Senate is important to the organization. It's important to our employees. And when we return, we look at the future of the HCC Staff Senate.
Sometimes what you need just shows up. Houston Community College has your back, whether you're knocking out some basics or upping your game for a better job. Enroll today for spring classes and frame your future with HCC.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
Things could be stranger, but I don't know how. I'm going through changes, through all of the strangeness. I'm going through changes now.
Welcome back to the topic. We're looking at the new Staff Senate initiative with Dr. Kurt Ewing, Mr. Aaron Henry, and Dr. Ivory Jones. Welcome back. So let's talk about the Staff Senate and where we're going now. We have the background. We've talked about what it's going to look like. Now let's talk about moving forward with it. Where are we in the process of developing the staff senate?
Okay, so Dr. Baskin, we're in full swing, I will tell you, in this design process. And so where we exactly are today, we had a staff town hall on Friday, June 9th, where we had over 170 staff members from across the district to log in and to hear the information that the design team, along with our advisory leaders, had come up with. And we presented the structure of the Senate to include the purpose, the naming of the Senate, the representation and what that looks like as it relates to who's going to be represented. And we got good feedback. So the staff have good positive things to say about the current structure. So where we are today is that our next phase is to look at data from the Talent Engagement Office, I believe, or I think it's Office of Institutional Research, but one of those offices is going to provide us staff data to tell us, exactly where staff are, what the roles are, exempt, non-exempt, full-time, part-time. And then we want to make sure that the representation across the district, particularly at our college locations, as well as the district office, represents all of our staff members. And so it's easy for us to say we want to have 6 people represented, 6 senators at this location versus another location. But we want to look at the data to see where folks are to make sure that we actually have a good representative number. So that's the next phase that we're looking at. We are currently moving to a place to begin conversations about our elections for our senators. And so our hope and our aim, and so we want to be clear about this is a goal and these are aims, and of course things change over time. But our current plan and our aim is to have a staff senate in place in August. And so that's contingent upon the elections that will take place. We're working out those details. And so one major detail, of course, is that those staff senators. And so once we have ironed that out, we'll be able to communicate to make a recommendation to the staff across the district about representation, get their feedback. And so our hope is to have another town hall meeting in early July, which will also allow an opportunity for folks to nominate their senators for who seek to run, and then also have an election. And so we're looking at between July and early August having that to take place. We will have again.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
I see that when we're talking the next steps, you're giving us the next steps. Can you give us a more definitive timeline outside of to give our viewers the opportunity to say this is happening by this date, this is happening by this day? Because I think that's part of it to ensure that you get the support that you need.
Okay. So throughout the rest of the month of June, we're going to be working on gathering goals from staff members through surveys, and we've already sent out a survey. We're going to work with the communications department and the chief transformation office to make sure that we can get information out. So we want to make sure that individuals that were not able to make the meeting on Friday are able to get access to that information that we shared. And then we want to get their feedback. And we're going to receive, like Dr. Jones mentioned earlier, we're receiving ongoing feedback from folks. So that's happening throughout the month of June. And then moving into July, we're hoping to have another staff town hall meeting in early July. And within the month of July into August, early August, our goal is to have nominations and elections for our senators. Any minute, any day now, we will get this data from talent engagement, right? And we'll be able to have a robust conversation around what representation should look like as it relates to from that data standpoint. And so our goal, as we shared this project timeline in that meeting on Friday, is that in August is that the term of the Senate will begin, and this design team is designed along with our advisory leaders to run parallel with the elected leaders to provide that stability and that continuity that will be needed to ensure that people are not just thrown out there, but that they have that direct support. I'll also share our faculty Senate partners. The current president of the Senate, Mr. David White, has expressed his willingness to provide one-on-one support. Dr. Melissa Miller-Waters, Mr. Daniel Dilla. I've had conversations with you, Mr. Desmond Lewis. Dr. Lewis, has shared his support. So we have that continuity and that support and that will be provided for our Senate.
Okay, that's great. It sounds to me like everything is moving in the direction it should move in. I like the expediency of the timeline and the expediency of getting it in place. I think that's going to be beneficial as well. Ivory, tell me this. How can HCC staff get involved right now to be able to help? I heard Ewen say that there are surveys going out, but what else can they do to get involved? Encourage them.
Yeah, definitely. We can't do this without you. We want this to be for you, but for us and for everyone, all the staff, we need you to be engaged. So that means coming to those town halls, answering those surveys. And at any point, you're free to email myself or Ewen or anyone on the team to bring those issues forward while we have our meeting to say, hey, we got this idea, or this is something we didn't consider. So staff engagement is very important, and we definitely want to hear from you. So again, fill out those emails, contact us by email, fill out those surveys, and definitely attend the next staff town hall meeting, because that is the point where you'll definitely get to see what we have in store and how we're going to move forward with the staff senate.
Thank you.
Might I add?
Sure.
Yeah, might I add? So so if you look at the email came from the Chief Transformation Officer's office, I think there have been 2 or 3 communications, and it lists all of the design team members as well as the advisory leaders. And so like Dr. Jones mentioned, just reach out to any of those folks, send an email, and then you are more than welcome to send me an email. I will have conversations with areas across the college whenever appropriate and possible to provide that one-on-one about the work of the Senate and the work of this, this design team. I had one yesterday with a group of folks. And so I'm willing to do that to make sure that folks understand, and we're receiving constant feedback. And we want honest feedback, because that feedback, this is not the design team's Senate. This is not my Senate. It's not the Chancellor's Senate. This is the Senate for Houston Community College, and we want the voice of all of our staff members.
I think you just gave us our closing statement. Honest feedback. I think that is the most important thing. And as Mr. Henry has said, when you get a chance and you get that email, please respond to it. Give them honest feedback so they can make the staff senate the best it's going to be. All I can say now is I'm excited. I'm ready. The staff senate is off and running. I thank you guys for joining us today on the topic. I appreciate the conversations. Again, happy Pride Month. Happy Juneteenth. And for more information, visit us on hccs.edu/podcast for the topic on HCC TV. I'm Dr. Darren Lamar Baskin. Goodbye.